once again.
Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's Mobile Mechanics, and here we have a VW Passat. It's a 2010. So on this VW Passat, customer has asked us to come and replace the rear shock absorbers because he's having a lot of excessive bouncing going on at the back end of the car. So if he's going around a bend, he notices the car is sort of back end bouncing around, which is typical of something that can happen from worn shock absorbers. But we're going to check the other suspension components as well, just to make sure that there isn't anything else moving about at the back end while we're fitting them. But regardless, he wants us to fit them anyway, so we're going to get on with the job now, and we'll get outside and have a look at it. So we're going to jack the car up, get the wheels off. Now the wheels off the car, we're going to get inside and have a look at the suspension components, like these sort of bushes. And leave the suspension bushes in here, and on the arms, trailing arms, and over here on the rear arm, got a little bush that looks a little bit worn, just in there. We're going to get this lever bar, just get it in between here, something metal, just give it a little pull. Well, there should be a little bit of movement, which there is, but there's not too much play in that. And we'll just get it in another position here and just move it, which there's no movement. And we'll try some of the other pieces. Over here at the front arm, just gonna pull on that. Doesn't look to be excessive. And just get it in the back. Again, doesn't seem to be excessive play on that. Okay, so everything looks okay on that side, so we're going to check the other side. And there is some fluid leak from these shock absorbers, and the shock absorber is a typical item that would cause sort of excessive swaying and bouncing at the back end of the car. But we'll check the other side as well now. We've checked all the suspension items here, there isn't any play in anything. But again, here, even worse on this side, we've got a lot more leakage from the shock absorber here. You can see going all the way down. So we're going to get these shock absorbers changed and see how that improves the ride. Just going to remove these screws and get the inside panel off, inner wheel arch. Now we've got all of these little screws out. We can take out this arch liner. We'll just leave that down here. And these are T25 screws. It's got a little bunch of them there. Now we can see inside the arch, and we've got a couple of bolts here to get open, and some bolts at the bottom. So here we have the bottom bolt. It's a 21mm. Just gonna get that spanner connected on there, and it might be a bit stiff. You have to give it a few hits of a hammer. That's what I'd usually do. Now it's already loose. I'm just gonna get it open. And I'm really gonna have to invest in getting another 21mm ratchet spanner, because this is painfully slow. And on the top bolts, 17mm. I'm gonna get an electric gun on this one. And we can come up to the top of the shock absorber, get a 16mm bolt on it, or sorry, socket. I'm going to use an electric gun on this one, just to get that out nice and easy. Now the both bolts are out and the bottom one's out, we can get the shock absorber out on the ground here, and you can see just how easy that is to press. There's no pressure in that whatsoever. So it's just bouncing around freely. And obviously we've got a set of springs like this on each side of the car, left and the right side. So without that shock absorber working, what you're doing is getting like a seesaw action of the cars just bouncing left and forth on both springs. The shock absorber is what should control that, as that should be hard to pull out, which slows the bouncing down. Here's a brand new shock absorber, and if you see, if I'm pressing that down, I can press it down, but it presses really slow, and it takes a lot of pressure, and as you let go, it's going to take a lot of pressure to slowly pull it back up as well. So it shouldn't just pull up and down freely. And that pressure from the shock absorber is what keeps the car from bouncing erratically up and down. So we're going to remove this mount at the top here, remove this little plastic cap at the top, and there's a 16mm bolt here. We're just going to gun that back out. So using a offset spanner here, and I'm going to hold this middle section with just an adjustable here. It's good enough for that. Get that on, and my apprentice is going to turn that for me. Yep, and then we'll span again, all the way around, other direction, keep going all the way around. Now we can get that bolt out and remove this mount and sleeve from that old shock absorber there. Gonna get the new shock absorber, slide this over it and get the bolt back on. Now we're going to get this unit just fitted back up into where it needs to be. So we'll get these two top bolts in first. So just get them in a little bit by hand, each bolt. Now we can just gun them back in. Bottom end of the shock absorber can just be turned to align up to the bolt hole, but we're a little bit out of line here. You can see there, it's a little bit high. So we've got our axle stand on the arm here. Just going to lower the jack slightly, which will push the arm up. Lock that back up. And now you can see it's a little bit lower, but we can now just pull that up by hand to align it. Tighten up this bottom bolt, and we are all done on this side. We'll get the other side opened and change that too. Got that inner arch off. It's a lot of mud coming from inside. Got a little drainage pipe here, so we've got that over here. It's the same again. We're going to get these bolts off, but we'll skip that bit. So we're just going to get this bottom bolt in and just slide it in here for a minute. Now we can turn it back and get the inner washer on there. And then we'll need to do the same adjustment by lifting up this lower arm here. We'll use that on the axle stand on the jack. So now we're going to take it for a drive again. The parts have been fitted and all is good. It's all done on this one, and we'll see you at the next video.